But let's just not arse around with any of that shit, and let's just go.
Can you hear us both okay though, Jack? Because that's been the big issue.
Yeah, I can actually this time. Horse, say something. I
expected that to be aimed at me as opposed to the host of the show that you've done 300 times.
Welcome to Real Politik. Jack's got 2 separate broken laptops and won't fix either of them.
I'm more of a panelist than a host, sort of,
End of the day, right? Like, my band sounds like my band, right? And that is it. It's like fucking Jammy Dodgers, isn't it? You know what I mean? Or like Stepladders or whatever. It's just, it's either there or it's not. It's not like these whiny fucking student shitheads on with pianos. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's just an Oasis record, right? And that is it.
Guys, don't believe the truth, because it's time to dig out your soul and be here now as we stand on the shoulder of giants. Guys, welcome to the Oasis Defence League. This is our first annual meeting. Firstly,
I thought this was the Stereophonics. I'm out.
No.
None of that Welsh nonsense. You're making me blow my load on the Welsh stuff already. Stop it. So our first order of item of agenda is we're gonna go for the women, especially the young ones. They only know Wonderwall. They've bought millions of tickets to spite me and other OG Oasis fans who got into them probably less than a year before they split up, like myself. Then I'm thinking, all the usual, the letters, the people, need I get further into that? Then the Welsh, of course, obviously the Welsh, particularly the Welsh gays. And then we'll go after the ethnic minorities, just unabashed racism. Then because we're still ostensibly left.
Oasis reform a week ago, and this is where we're at already. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Well, no, don't worry.
Don't worry. 15 years.
Don't worry, because we're still ostensibly a left-wing podcast. I'm thinking then we segue into some good old-fashioned anti-Semitism. Well, you can see everyone is on board. This is a packed meeting. Alright, so welcome to Real Politik, everyone. We are discussing the Oasis reunion today, and me and Geraint are joined by a real OG Oasis head, who we will be referring to for the duration of this episode as Horse. Hello, Horse. Welcome.
Hello. Very kind of you to invite me. I'm not joining in on the anti-Welsh bit, by the way. As I've explained to you, I've spent 4 days of my life in Wales, and 2 of them were for Oasis, and 2 of them were for Taylor Swift. So I'm fine with the Welsh. Sorry, Jack, you're outnumbered now.
Yeah, this keeps happening. We keep inviting people on, and they're lovely about Wales, and it's just Jack. This is the problem.
Bully me.
Oh, it's country.
Real racism. But don't worry. You Geraint, you can feel like you're ganging up on me for enjoy it while it lasts. Anyway, savor this moment because the tables are going to be turned very soon. Those who enjoyed our Oasis Omnibus RP archival release that I released the other day will have got the sense that perhaps one of us is a greater fan of Oasis than the other. Someone's perhaps more in line with Horse on this issue. Horse, how many times did you see them? 15, was it?
Yeah, I think 15.
How many times have you seen BDI?
Three. Yeah.
That's in many
Liam
ways
Solo?
Significantly
Liam
more
Solo
damning
won.
than Oasis
I went to MTV Unplugged.
What was that? Sorry, I shouldn't have asked you so soon when Geraint was being mean to you for seeing BDI.
No, one for Liam. I went to MTV Unplugged. I went to Liam's MTV Unplugged.
And what about Solo Noel?
I think twice at the Albert Hall when he did the thing where it was the small band. Yeah, and also High Flying Birds twice.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry,
twice a bit.
High Flying Birds. Okay, we're counting Solo Noel and High Flying Birds separately. I didn't realise. Well, anyway, they're fucking back. They're back. Fuck you, everyone. It's just like when Corbyn won. It feels that good. Don't look up Noel Gallagher's opinions on Corbyn. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Oasis are back.
Let's let Geraint go first.
They'll make lots of money from it, which they obviously were really short of before. It's basically to pay for Noel's divorce tour, as I understand it.
Do you want him to end up like John Cleese?
I mean, I've heard his political opinions. I think he kind of is like John Cleese in many ways.
Yeah, but Cleese has been on his alimony tour globally for the last 20 years or so, and I don't think he's even started to make up for what his ex-wife cruelly took from him. Do you want Noel to just be slogging it out with the high-flying birds, playing medium-sized venues, making a reasonable amount of money for the rest of his life? Is that what you want?
Nobody wants that.
Sickening.
Nobody wants that.
Okay, that's a good point. Sorry, Horse, I'll let you say something in a second, but that's a good fucking point. Do people want Noel and Liam making solo music? What the fuck are you talking about? Liam's last 2 albums are the worst shit I've ever heard in my fucking life.
I just said nobody wants that. Like, they clearly are worse separately than they are as a band.
Sorry, Horse.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Take the floor.
No, so I don't think... I think Noel's divorce is probably good timing, but I don't think that's what it is. I think what it is that Liam did his Definitely Maybe tour this year, and presumably made a large amount of money. It sold out arenas very, very quickly. Next year, of course, would then be Morning Glory, which I imagine probably would go to the stadiums, and that's probably going to irk Noel a bit.
Yeah.
So if someone's going to put that money on his table instead of all of it going to Liam, then I think he's probably going to have it. And I think the amount of money now is so enormous.
It would be even
they must have sold
Oasis
150 million
together,
tickets.
as opposed to the one of them, which still would have made a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, like even if they hadn't done the dynamic pricing shit, which is genuinely evil, by the way, they still would have
more on
made
that.
a killing. We'll definitely come back to that, because I'm
like
sure
that,
Jack's absolutely fuming one way or the other.
By the way, I didn't get tickets, so just putting that out there, I haven't invested a large amount of money. I just genuinely love Oasis. I'm not deluding myself to make up for losing like £1 million yesterday to Ticketmaster. I understand and relate to and respect those who did. Horse, for example.
I want to tell our listeners at this point as well that I'm actually the one that administers the Real Politik Patreon. So if we're begging you for donations, it will not all be going to Jack paying like 800 quid to a tout to go and stand at the back of a field and watch Oasis. It'll probably pay for a percentage of his ticket, but he'll have to turn to crime for the rest.
The money men, pencil pushers, just holding me back from reaching my true potential.
I suppose, Jack, going into your next subject, I did get tickets, as it happened.
And
I intend to take, assume they want to go, my younger sisters, who aren't quite as young as Chloe, 21 from Stockport, but are very slightly older than that.
Chloe, goddamn Chloe. I am laying it at her feet solely that I did not get any tickets and not that I was too lazy to get on the pre-sale or wake up early on Saturday morning.
You weren't too lazy. What happened, if I recall, is that I got a message from you at about 4:30 in the morning on the Saturday, so you still hadn't been to bed. So clearly you were never getting up in time to order the tickets.
Oh yeah, I sent you a screenshot of that article. Yeah. It was like from 2014. It was just like, are Oasis socialists?
Yeah.
Like the question we're all asked.
And so that's what Jack was doing at 4:30 in the morning the night before. He wanted to try and get the most sought after tickets that have existed in recent times.
But I'd already fucked up the pre-sale at that point, and I knew that literally millions of people would be trying to get Oasis tickets.
You've essentially already given up.
Yeah, I've given up on everything, including... Look, the fact that Noel and Liam are back together, it's like, it's maybe starting to heal my heart. It's been so icy all these years. Well, look, we can get more into all that, I'm sure. But actually, I do have an exclusive statement from Mr. Noel Gallagher on the dynamic pricing of these Oasis tickets that has caused such controversy and drained so much money from Horse's accounts.
I didn't get dynamic pricing. Sorry, I sound really horrible, don't I? Because I didn't. I got in on a pre-sale. All I had to do was click the button and sit in the queue for a while. I booked a load of like cancelable hotels as soon as the dates got announced. So
You
all I had
played
to
the
do was
system,
then cancel the ones that I didn't get a ticket
Cancel the
for.
ones you didn't
So I
get
paid
tickets
like
for.
a third of the cost that the hotel is now. And yeah, I say I didn't have to do dynamic pricing. It all works out pretty well for me, to be honest, Jack.
Anyway, well, the statement that Noel Gallagher personally sent to me, which in fact would be his first public comment on this Oasis reunion, other than that little poem he wrote in their Twitter statement. This is what Noel Gallagher said to me. What I do is a very simple thing. I tell my guys, go out and see what everybody else is doing. Let's charge a little less. That's generally the directions. They go out and set it up. For the past 49 years or however long we've been playing, we've pretty much been out there under market value. I've enjoyed that. It's been great for the fans. This time I told them, hey, we're 73 years old. The guys are there. I want to do what everybody else is doing. My peers. So that's what happened. That's what they did. He added a laugh emoji at that point. He said, most of our tickets are totally affordable. They're in that affordable range. We have those tickets that are going to go for that higher price somewhere anyway. The ticket broker or someone is going to be taking that money. I'm going, hey, why shouldn't that money go to the guys that are going to be up there sweating 3 hours a night for it? He reasoned.
What, Jack? Why do I feel like I've heard this statement before and it wasn't in the last couple of days?
He added that he did not want to be seen as the poster boy for dynamic pricing. No, that was in fact not a new statement by Noel Gallagher, but that was how Bruce Springsteen defended his use of dynamic pricing last year. And I will say I see it as significantly more of a betrayal coming from Clarion of the working class Bruce Springsteen than the always extremely mercenary Oasis.
It's a pretty awful thing to do, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah, no, it sucks, obviously. I thought, look, I take down another one of my heroes, as well as Oasis.
The only qualifier is I'm sure, like, obviously not got concrete proof of this, so this is simply an opinion, but I'm sure Ticketmaster lobby major artists to say yes to that option of dynamic pricing. That is in their interest to normalise that, and if there are major tours, like if Taylor Swift said no to it, if the Oasis reunion and all the press attention on that, and they said no to it, it would be a blow to that being normalised. So they're 100% going to have half of their artist liaison team is just going to be like, here's a interminable presentation on why dynamic pricing is wonderful.
Yeah, it will just be the touts get all the money anyway. Maybe
that seems to be the way they're doing it. It's like an anti-tout thing, but
to defeat the touts, I must become the tout.
Defeating the touts, we must charge all our actual fans 3 times as much as the already massively inflated prices versus 20 years ago. I swear gig prices must be up about 400-500% from the year 2000. It's mad.
You look at the new CEO of Ticketmaster, and they're like a prodigious business mind called Chloe, and you see on their bio that they were born in Stockport. They tried to warn you.
The festival, Glastonbury and Reading and Leeds and ones like that, used to have much more stacked lineups than they do now, and more current versus nostalgia.
Good old days, real music, rock, guitars.
I'm simply talking about how many famous bands there were on there. I'm not judging the merits of them. I was a teenager. I probably had a skewed perspective in that respect. But tickets were £60 the weekend. You pay double that for some really shit local festival with dodgy headlining and no other band you've heard of on the lineup now.
By the way, Manic's rumoured to be supporting Oasis in Cardiff.
Not for the first time. I
heard they won't too much money.
They did Nebworth, didn't they?
I think they did Nebworth.
Yes,
and did they also both do the big Hillsborough benefit? I can't remember if Oasis did that.
People say that Oasis, they're just this musically conservative. They just only like guitars. They are just EDL, English, all that. But the support acts at Nebworth, they were 2 bands that play computers. The Chemical Brothers and the Prodigy, and Welsh people, Manic Street Preachers. I rest my case.
Fucking dickhead.
Horse. Sorry, I had to.
No, I was going to confirm. Yeah, Manic did.
No, but, Oasis didn't do the Hillsborough benefit.
No, I think they gave a song. I think they gave like a live version of Don't Look Back in Anger to it, if I remember. I don't know, I probably talk all kinds of shit that I sort of half remember and it's sort of half true.
Wasn't
that sounds about
a
right.
benefit album for the Liverpool Dockers?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, actually, Jack.
Yeah, they definitely supported that cause. That was one that caught on with a lot of people that weren't normally adopting like left-wing political causes. You had like Robbie Fowler doing celebrations for it, and he was a massive homophobe landlord guy, you know?
He got done for a t-shirt, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Calvin Klein Dockers written on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oasis possibly being supported by the Manics is a huge middle finger up to Simon Price. Because the Manics, they think Oasis are fucking mega. And they also like doing casual homophobia in the 90s.
Yeah, so Simon Price has had a bee in the bonnet for this for like well over 25 years. Because he wrote the first proper biography of the Manics. And there's like half a chapter given over to him just like kicking off about all the normies that turn up to the gigs now. You wouldn't have called them normies, that term didn't really exist, but that's essentially what he was saying. And like his point was like Oasis fan types are quite annoying. I'm like, they are, but some subsets of the Manics fans as well.
I think if you're in like the Rolodex of the people that the Guardian are going to call when they want someone to write an article about a band that broke up 15 years ago and how much you're still crying about them, if you're in that Rolodex, I don't really want to hear from you.
But that Rolodex is just people who wrote for either the NME or Melody Maker in the late 90s, of which obviously...
Isn't it called The Little Black Book? No,
There's surprisingly little overlap there. Every other type of British
Michael White
is in the Black Book, but I don't think the...
Well, no, because the Guardian don't call Michael White up anymore. Yeah, no, that's right. I don't think Simon Price is in there. But look, I mean, he spent a lot
Simon Price is not in there.
Okay.
I'm playing the real politic lawyer at this point.
that was
not even Paolo Hewitt's in the Black Book.
That was a diss against the Guardian, not against Simon Price specifically. But look, he spent a lot of
I'm dissing Simon Price specifically, by the way.
Okay, but we don't have concrete factual evidence on the Epstein link, so let's put that aside.
That's true. I'm dissing his terrible opinions, no potential links with anybody. I don't know, I hadn't heard of the person before 2 days ago.
No, look, he spent a lot of that article accusing Liam of homophobia, but I've seen his byline photo, and I could accuse him of playing into the ancient anti-Semitic trope of people having horns.
Have you seen his wedding photos, by the way?
No.
No further comment.
Okay. Well,
I haven't seen it. I'm not laughing because I've seen them. I'm laughing because what a ridiculous fucking question.
Just imagine.
Sometimes I get a stupid intrusive thought that it's so stupid that I simply have to share it with the world as a sort of reminder to myself not to do that.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was disguising himself as a mid-level rock critic. Really likes Welsh bands. Just to address Simon Price's actual substantive musical criticisms of Oasis, what have we got? That their music is funkless and sexless. This is a band founded by a guy called Bonehead. And also that they don't have fast songs. Like, ignoring the fact that they obviously do. Like, who gives a fuck? Since that has never been a thing that rock music means you play fast. That's made that up. Fucking that. They're not a hardcore punk band. And I personally think that a lot of hardcore punk is not very punk because they play so fast that they have to be really technically accomplished musicians to do so. That's not rock and roll.
Always comes back to
Oasis
cunt with Jack, doesn't
it? They play very fucking fast. The songs go by in a flash. But Oasis, they're rock and roll, man. They're fucking rock and roll. What do you say to this, Horse? Should they have more fast
I don't
songs?
care what his criticisms are. Like, why would I?
So
if you're the person that they phone up after all these years because you've been crying for all these years that this band ruined your life by existing, fine, be that person. That's cool. But, I went 15 times when I was between like 20 and 25, and I had an absolutely amazing time. And I don't care what Simon Price has to say about that. And I hope that every Chloe from Stockport got tickets and has as an amazing time as I did 20 years ago.
Yeah, shout out to Chloe.
I think he basically launched most of the interminable sequence of bands that got dubbed the New Manics in the early noughties.
Who were they? Like, I remember some of the ones that like NME tried to push, but I don't know who they specifically tried to push as like the New Manics.
None of them really got that big, like the entire music press behind them push. It was more a sort
the
of
Shrieking
tentative.
Tin Men.
It's a tentative, like the Manics are a big fan base band. They don't really sound like they used to, so someone can probably clean up doing that. So Miss Black America, Rachel Stamp, Kinesis.
I think we're in Kinesis.
Rachel Stamp. That's even worse than a bunch of Welsh people calling
King Adora,
Miss Black America.
So King Adora got that, and they were like obviously trying to rip off this sort of early Manics image, and
they got a front page, surely.
Yeah, they got a bit of hype. They got a bit of hype, but then they obviously got a bit knocked by this, and they gave an interview like, "We hate the Manics. Everything they've done is shit. We're already way better than them." And like they were King Adora, so that basically killed their career because like half their natural fan base was like, "These guys are cunts," and like their songs were shit, so they didn't really have another natural fan base apart from me, obviously, because I was a fucking mug. But like,
no, I mean, so some Welsh people have been really calling it right the last week since Oasis got back together. Shout out to Dan Davis. I know Davies. What's the super Welshist pronunciation of Davis?
It could be either. Like they're both, and they're both spelled the same. Like
he's been one of our bravest soldiers in the Oasis wars. There's been all kinds of takes, takes flying about. I believe one guy said Tom York has worse politics than Noel Gallagher. Got about 6,000 likes. Oh, that was me.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very true. And I very carefully chose Noel rather than Liam to emphasize how bad Tom York's politics are, because Noel has very, very bad politics, whereas Liam is like often misunderstood by people. Like, great singer, he means well, he's basically severely mentally handicapped. And like, it's just, I see all these people being mean about him, and I just think it's ableism basically, and it's disgusting. Have you read his tweets? Like, stop fucking bullying him. Fuck you.
To understand Liam, I think what you have to understand is that he was like 20 when they were signed and still lived with his mum and had, as far as I'm aware, like painted some fences and washed some cars and gone to a rehearsal room. And that's kind of all that he'd done in his life, really. Whereas Noel had sort of travelled the world with his spiral carpets and had jobs and had help from like Johnny Marr and people like that. And Liam, I believe, technically at least, like still lived at home when they went to Main Road. Like, he has never understood how to like live a life at all, because he never had to. Literally just went from living in his mum's house to being a superstar.
Rock and roll star. Noel really fucking destroyed his life when he left the band, man. Like, literally, yeah, just in his entire adult life, he'd just been, fucking mad for a rock and roll star. And it's like, now you've got to, like, do all the stuff.
I think the court papers, when he got divorced, said that he ended up, after he got divorced, which I think was after BDI broke up, I can't remember, he was down to like 5 million or something, which, fair enough, is a lot of money. But it's no better than like a buy-to-let landlord in the southeast would have done in that time in the end.
Yeah, Noel's divorce is meant to be worth like 20 million, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's got more money.
Well, yeah, no, he's got a lot more, because, he's got Wonderwall money.
Yeah. When Liam came back in 2017, it was genuinely, so when he came back initially, it was small venues, and they sort of booked him halfway up the bill on festivals, because they genuinely didn't know what appetite there was for Liam Gallagher in 2017 and beyond. And he did need to do it, by the sounds of it, because he would have run out of money. Like, a bad lifestyle, fuck me, he's not going to last very long, is it? He's probably been on tour most of this year and doing pretty well, because he did the album with John Squire that I listened to once, and it's fine. Yeah. My mate was texting all the time talking about how brilliant it is, and it's like, well, it's a Seahorses album with a better singer, which is fine. But they toured that, and they played for 45 minutes, and they charged 60 quid a ticket.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like,
that's worse than Oasis charging like 300 quid. Dynamic
they
pricing,
played
so
the
at least you get
album
a
in a
set.
cover of Jumping Jack Flash, and then and that was it.
And
like,
you would think
just
that,
throw in
like,
a couple of Oasis songs or something.
Why couldn't they do the 2 songs that John Squire did with Oasis at Nebworth?
Mhm.
Like, why not Champagne Supernova and I Am the Walrus, just for a bit of crowd-pleasing shit? They have a shared history with those songs.
Why not? Liam co-wrote a Seahorses song.
yeah, that's
You could have
true.
done that one. You could have just played a couple of Stone Roses songs. You could have just played a couple of Oasis songs or Liam songs or whatever. Just pad it out a little bit. 45 minutes is like, I don't particularly, because I'm old, I don't particularly like a particularly long gig anymore. But a 45 minutes is taking the piss somewhat, I think. I think Jake Bugg supported them and actually played for slightly longer.
Jake Bugg, one of the great, real BDI level British rocker there.
I think I saw him supporting one of them once, I think. But I can't really remember. Good story. No, I do think I can remember almost everybody, I think, that I've seen supporting Oasis and various others over the years. But Jake Bugg, maybe I didn't see him, I don't know. But Jake Bugg completely went over my head.
We've already got Simon Price's scalp here, horns and all. And I think maybe we should just move on to another hater. Jeremy Gilbert, who tweeted something that I think shows an immense rock illiteracy. He said something like, Oasis, actually, they don't sound anything like the Beatles. They sound like Big Star and Badfinger. So basically he's like, they sound like power pop, guitar heavy power pop bands rather than the Beatles, whom they drew on heavily. And because of this, people started quote tweeting this saying that Big Star and Badfinger are shit when they're not. Because Jeremy Gilbert falsely accused them. He sort of implied that they influenced Oasis. For a start, alright, maybe Noel has some Badfinger albums because they were signed to the Beatles' Apple label. But Noel didn't fucking grow up listening to Big Star. They're fucking American. Young Noel was on record as saying that the only good American bands are the Stooges and the MC5. And he likes Neil Young and Bob Dylan as well because he's not completely cracked. Like, so...
Noel would not have, at the point Oasis became famous, the first couple of albums, he would not have been into anything that didn't have a British fan base. He probably wouldn't have heard Big Star.
I doubt it. You know, he was on the same label as Teenage Fan Club, so maybe some point in the 90s they showed him Big Star. But also, I saw that and I was just like, well, so fucking what? Because Big Star are great, and people fucking give Teenage Fan Club, like every album they release gets 4 stars for sounding like an accurate simulacrum of Big Star and the Byrds, and that's fine. Their music is always pleasant, Teenage Fan Club, and I'm fine with them getting good reviews. But so what? They're influenced by good bands, and they're not even influenced by these particular bands, so shut up, Jeremy Gilbert, you sweaty fool.
Got him.
I rest my case.
I remember there was an interview that Noel said that he didn't think the earlier Oasis sounded particularly like the Beatles. He thought it sounded more like Slade. And I can hear that.
Well, there you go. I can hear that because we know for a fact that Noel is influenced by Slade. And because Oasis have covered 2 Slade songs on different occasions. And Noel's very vocal about his love of Slade. So that shouldn't come as news to anyone. But, like, do you reckon when you buy a Jeremy Gilbert book, you keep ripping out the pages because just of all the sweat that has dripped onto them? He personally anoints each page before it goes out to bookstores.
I read a very entertaining interview with Liam where he said that it was pathetic for a grown man to try and make himself like the acid Corbynism guy and then go and support Clive Lewis. But, you know, not what
he's
I
a politically
to hear from
astute
Liam,
guy,
but, you know. I can't say, you know, I'm not offering an opinion on that, but that's what Liam Gallagher thinks.
Imagine Jeremy Gilbert on E. Think of how sweaty the normal person is on E, and then multiply that
sweat
by.
Thing here?
Oh,
I'm only vaguely familiar with the man. What's the sweat thing about?
He did some appearance on Navarra where he looked really sweaty, and he was like, "Oh, didn't realise I had my camera turned on."
They did him dirty, to be fair. They just didn't tell him the cameras were on at all, and then didn't tell him that they put up the video feed rather than do it as like an audio thing.
Yeah, but I've seen him on panels at the World Transformed and stuff. He looks like that all the time. Yeah, anyway, I saw his stupid comments about Big Star and the bands that the replacements get praised for being influenced by Big Star and Badfinger, and that's all I really saw of Jeremy Gilbert's fucking case against Oasis, but I'm sure its conclusion is that we need to vote for the Liberal Democrats. Anyway, that's enough party politics.
Was that actually a case against Oasis, or was he just saying he thinks they sounded more like them than the Beatles? Because so far you've only said he sound like those bands. Like, is that a bad thing? Did he then say bad things?
I think what irked me about it was that he was trying to sound smart by naming bands that are also overtly Beatles influenced and saying, oh, Oasis sound more like them than the Beatles. They don't even sound like the Beatles. Oh, look at me. I'm Jeremy Gilbert. And it was in the context, course, of many tweets that would have upset you greatly about how Oasis are not good music.
Yeah, thank you for not sending me them.
I can't send you everything, all the great articles, are Oasis socialists, and so on. Anyway, so we've looked at some of the haters, the fucking haters, the anti-Oasis people, the team on team anti-Oasis, people like Simon Price and Jeremy Gilbert and Geraint and presumably most of the Nazi high command.
Yeah, I'm not even particularly anti-Oasis. I just think they're very overhyped. You can be a competent band and also a psyop. That's not a contradiction. Obviously, as a serious podcasting professional, I did the requisite research of just listening to a couple of Oasis albums, the same as I do every few years. And my controversial anti-Oasis opinion, which isn't really an anti-Oasis opinion, but so everyone agrees, apart from Jack, because we've had this conversation before, that like a big part of the reason why Be Here Now was so silly is that all the songs are way too long. There's no one telling them to like tone it down a bit.
Not everyone agrees.
Yeah, we've established that. Everyone except for you agrees. That's not everyone.
Liam Gallagher and
and Noel Gallagher, yeah, and everyone else.
No, Noel Gallagher agrees with you. Okay. Noel Gallagher is on record as agreeing very much with you on this.
And on all his political views as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
let's face it wasn't very good, was it?
Well,
there was probably good songs buried underneath there, and if you did the unplugged album, you'd find something there.
It suffered from the fact that it wasn't Morning Glory.
It suffered from the fact that you had a big head.
Yeah, well, too.
And you thought you were the biggest thing in the world, you could do what you liked.
Well, we were.
Yeah, but you brought that biggest thing in the world to make it now.
Yeah, but I'd written the songs before I'd signed the record deal.
Oh, okay.
So I refute that we were just in the studio kind of treading water. We were having a great time in the studio, I will give you that. And if there's one thing I regret, it's not somebody saying maybe these songs are a bit too long.
A producer, yeah.
But that's still some people's favourite album. Now, you won't meet many of them. Right, but there is people out there.
Of course.
That the choice is made on Be Here Now, whatever.
Choice. I haven't got a problem with Be Here Now. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's easy to sit back and go, oh yeah, there's fucking problems there because it didn't sell as many as it was. And this is what does my head about that gobshite. If he thought it was a shit album, he shouldn't have put the cunt out. He thought it was the bollocks at the time. So end the fucking story. And so did I. It's just because it didn't sell 20 million fucking copies. And people slagged it off and all that tackle. Now he's going, no, it's the fucking biggest pile of shit in the world. Well, I'm sorry. You made it unlucky.
Yeah, but sometimes you can...
No. At the time, it was the bollocks. And as far as I'm concerned, we wouldn't have put it out. So I'd shut up and give it respect, or just shut the fuck up. Not you, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I know.
So, and that's the way it is. It's like every other album. If you don't think it, it's up to scratch, don't put it out.
I think basically everyone that Liam wasn't sharing his coke with in the studio probably agrees. But my controversial opinion is that it's true to a much lesser extent as well, of Definitely Maybe. Every song on that is about 30 to 40 seconds too long, consistently.
This like guitar
generation.
There's so many songs on that that would be really, really good as like, right, punchy 3 minutes, 3 minutes 10, and they're like 4 minutes 10 for no reason. And
just because the second verse is just the first verse repeated,
it's not even the
doesn't
verses.
mean they should be half the length.
They've got no sense of pacing, and then they got one for the second album, pretty much, and then threw it right out the window. Like, fuck it, you can tell us what to do. Incredible.
I mean, it's like the second verse repeating thing I do find kind of amazing on some of them. Sometimes I guess you've got to do it quite quickly. But Jack, you will remember Force of Nature from Heath and Chemistry.
Smoking on my stash, but burning on my cash.
Fuck yeah, I do.
So that was released,
Heath and
I think,
Chemsex, one of my favourites.
like, which is the worst Oasis album.
You should hear my reconstruction. It puts it in a new light.
Of course it does. How long is it? About 20 minutes or so?
Jack, you've invented the EP. Well done.
Yeah.
It's about the length of the album. Takes off some Noel songs, puts on a few B-sides, slaps.
But right, what I was getting to was, so Force of Nature was released for like a film soundtrack at least a couple of years beforehand, I think. Or maybe it wasn't released, but it was recorded for a film soundtrack a couple of years beforehand. I think it was recorded around the same time as Standing on the Shoulder of Giants originally. And it's like, so you literally had 2 years to come up with another verse? Like, literally 2 years. And I think, like, Hey Now as well, or Morning Glory, there is a demo of Hey Now, isn't there? Like, just a Noel acoustic demo.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that
from like
dates back
89
to...
or something.
No,
it's
not
from like
89.
6 years. No, isn't it? Was that a different...
No,
there's a similarly named song on his first demo tape. Yeah, carry on.
I'll tell you about that demo tape.
Fake news.
What story about
okay.
that? Who do you think liberated that tape? True story. But there is a few of them like that. And I remember the first time I saw them, they played Hindu Times the first time. And at that point, they only had the one verse. And they did it. And obviously, by the time they then recorded it, he'd come up with the second verse, which is obviously complete nonsense as the first one is. But at least they've done it.
Song.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favourites. But then, you've got songs that are like literally years old, and they just never bothered writing a second verse for it. Just did it over again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like Wonderwall's basically, they changed like a couple of words in the second verse or something. But it is funny. You could just do a 2-minute version of the song and loop it. I'm sure people would notice, but some people wouldn't. So we looked at some of the haters, possibly not including Geraint. But let's look at some of the people who love Oasis. Neil Young likes Oasis. He's met them and he had dinner with them, and they all said he was a top geezer. And Bob Dylan said, yeah, they did it. Rock in Rio 2001. I once listened to the Neil Young and Crazy Horse set and the Oasis set from Rock in Rio 2001 back to back. And that was a fun evening by myself.
And in Paris somewhere, I think. They're supporting in Paris. I'm beating you on Neil Young knowledge now.
I think early 2000s again, but I might be wrong.
Been.
I think it might have been when he did a few dates with Booker T and the MGs. He did an album with them called Are You Passionate? But in a more recent interview, Bob Dylan said, the Oasis brothers, I like both of them.
Noel has covered, I think, Like a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, did
but
that sound check.
Did he ever? Yeah, he didn't ever actually play it, did he, though?
He's covered a couple of Dylan songs in more recent years, because he did You Ain't Going Nowhere and Mighty Quinn the Eskimo.
Yeah. And
Great
I think Liam said It's All Over Now, Baby Blue is Liam's favourite Bob Dylan, I think.
Oh, there you go. Well, Bob Dylan said he likes both of the Oasis brothers, and this is like the weight that I put in Bob Dylan's opinions. He's done the song for the new adulatory biopic of Ronald Reagan. And it's like, because Bob Dylan has co-signed Reagan, I would fucking give a kidney to the director if they asked me to. Ergo, Oasis are good. That's the conclusion of all that.
I think there is a thing about, like, Noel, particularly Noel, maybe not Liam so much, generally got to play with his heroes. So whether it's Johnny Marr, Weller, The Who, Paul McCartney, I can't remember what it was. Paul McCartney. Yeah, Neil Young.
I don't think he's actually, like, played with Neil Young. He's appeared on the same bill as him. But I don't think they've, like, jammed.
Oh, Ian Brown.
Otherwise, I'd have that recording in the collection.
Ian Brown, I missed a concrete fact there, didn't I?
I'm saying concrete facts.
Ian Brown, of course, he did the famous song, Keep What You Got by Giving It All Away. The anti-materialist spirit that is driving this new Oasis reunion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously, we talked a little bit earlier about where Liam's at in his life and how he's doing. I don't think we really got anywhere with it, but obviously, let's just say in Liam's life, Guru Debbie, obviously hugely influential. I saw somebody on Twitter say, Debbie, the Guru, all in caps, has turned Liam to very weird woke and transgender supporter who talks like a toddler and humiliates ordinary women.
Fuck.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my god, I've found this tweet already. It's like, wow. Yeah, this was literally the other day, reacting to the reunion. What the
We've
fuck?
gone.
His Nebworth support was kind of a lot more varied than it might have been in the past, if I can put it that way. But then also, if you ever saw his atrocious Nebworth film, the storyline of which was basically man wants to play in a field again. He literally right, it showed him. It literally sort of shows him in the film, like in his living room as the show is going on. And he's going to get a helicopter when he needs to kind of get there and be on stage and even watch the support bands, which makes it a fairly laughable film in many ways because it doesn't have any kind of real story behind it apart from Liam would quite like to sing in the same field that he once did.
Yeah, I can imagine them them showing him around the field and he's like, oh, fucking top, mad for it. It's like that.
There is a bit like that in it. But I think it was only in the cinema, so I saw it at the cinema, and then I don't think it's been anywhere since. Probably for the best.
Was that the one Noel blocked the use of his songs in it or something?
No, I presume he probably did, but the main one that Noel blocked was Liam's "As It Was," which I think is still on Netflix. But that's bad, but not on the scale of the Netflix one. Yeah,
it's just like a little promotional thing that is somehow feature length.
Yeah.
There's one of those for every Oasis album. You know, Gem Archer and Andy Bell, they sit down, they tell you how it's the best thing since sliced bread. Oasis is back to the best it was before they joined the band, you know.
Yeah.
I love those things. I watch them on YouTube.
Liam and Noel getting on well. Liam's writing loads of great songs. Every time.
What was it? I was listening to, it was like I'm Out of Time. I was watching the making of Dig Out Your Soul documentary on YouTube, Gold and Silver and Sunshine. And everybody was just showering praise on I'm Out of Time, Liam's song that was released as a single. It's like Gem and Andy were so fucking effusive. And Liam was like, it's just a fucking top tune, isn't it? I don't know how I wrote it. It just came to me fucking... Don't set out to write a fucking tune like that, just is what it is. And so, like, after, like, a solid 2 minutes just talking about that stupid John Lennon sample at the end, where it's like, John Lennon's like, Churchill said it's an Englishman's inalienable right to live where the hell he likes. Because they put that random fucking sample from Gem's tape collection at the end of the song, all these journalists asked Liam, like, so what, Liam, are you moving to New York? And then he was like, dunno, might do. Obviously he never did, but there were like a million headlines, like Liam Gallagher considering moving to New York.
I think he owes some money in New York.
Well, probably not moving there anytime soon then. But like,
do you remember the meaning of soul one? Like the shit stories that are on those. The meaning of soul one with the spoons.
I don't remember that.
Don't remember that one, right? If you dig out the EPK for that, and they go on for ages about. I think it was Zach Starkey was like the drum sound on it. They use spoons to do it, hitting like a cereal box or something, and they go on about it fucking ages. Like it's unbelievable things. Yeah, they're insufferable. Those things.
On the I'm Out of Time one, they've all been raving about I'm Out of Time, and Liam and Gem have been going into scientific detail about getting the John Lennon sample at the end, and then they just cut to Noel, and he's just like, you can't fucking understand what he's saying, it just sounds like...
I remember taping it off the radio in 1980, and it's on a cassette, and me and Liam flicked through it on a Curry's cassette.
Churchill said it's every Englishman's inalienable right to live where the hell he wants. It's John Lennon trying to defend moving to New York.
I was just like, turn it up. You can't. All you can hear is. I tell you so first. Is it John Lennon or is it Winston Churchill? I don't know.
It's like, they were not getting Noel saying much nice stuff about Liam on camera towards the end. Oh man, there's a funny fucking video on YouTube, which is like, it's from probably less than a month before Oasis split up, and it's just like, Noel Gallagher, I will never leave Oasis. Interview weeks before departure or something.
There's been a lot of rumours. Bookie's saying that this might be the last Oasis tour.
It's nonsense.
Where does that come from then?
I don't know. People make comments in the press all the time, wouldn't put any stock in any of it.
So you can nail that rumour on London tonight?
Yeah, we're never going to split up.
You're going to end up like the Rolling Stones.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, what's like Neil Young on the stage pushing 70 at Glastonbury?
You know, as long as people want to see it, we'll do it, do you know what I mean? And I speak for the rest of the band. We all really enjoy being in the studio and making music. But, yeah, you know, people kind of take comments that people make and twist them and all that, but, you know. I mean, if there were, apparently there's kind of bets from the bookies.
Yeah, so what?
That's what
I'm saying. 2-1 by October. There's no more Oasis.
I could make a fortune by putting $500,000 on myself to leave and then leave for a week or something. But no, see, I can never leave Oasis. I am Oasis. You know what I mean? And I don't think Oasis will ever leave me. So it's all paper talking it.
Should we talk about Noel being a shithead more broadly?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's kind of shit either way. But have you heard "The Lord Don't Slow Me Down" with Liam singing?
Yeah. No, I like that. I guess
certainly better than no one.
Don't Believe the Truth. Great album. I'm gonna say good start to finish pretty much.
Yeah. So going back to Noel being an asshole, so he's basically sacked or betrayed pretty much anybody that he's ever met, and he basically admitted to fairly slyly firing Tony in Supersonic, I think.
Oh yeah.
Alan White was an acrimonious one. The drummer that played up until 2003, I think he was still there. That was an acrimonious one.
Yeah,
and,
that's kind of shrouded in mystery, the Alan White situation.
Yeah, I think they said that they thought because he had to miss a tour because he had tendinitis, and his brother, who drummed for Paul Weller, Steve White, drummed instead. And to be fair, he was a lot better.
He was so good, man. He was like the drummer in the Style Council and for like the first 18 years of Weller's solo career.
And then after that, because he was asked then, would he join Oasis after his brother had left? And he made a very disparaging comment, I think, about it. So it was something like, I'm in the Premier League, why would I join the First Division? But fair enough, really. If they sacked your brother, then...
Reasonable. Oh, yeah.
Noel's just baffled by the concept of brothers that actually get on and have some loyalty to each other.
Yeah.
Cannot comprehend it at all.
He's like, I thought he would like that.
They are the Gallagher brothers Warriors.
At least we got Zach Starkey in the band because of that. Actually, fucking killer drummer. Great work on the last two albums.
We refuse to have a drummer that isn't related to another drummer. That's the rule.
Yeah.
Well, specifically the one from the Beatles.
You have to have.
Who also happens to be the drummer for the Who.
tunes.
Remember that I sent you that tweet, Grime, that was some story of one time someone saw Oasis and apparently Super Furry Animals was supporting, and they just got like booed off by a crowd chanting "fuck off back to Wales." I was like, I was not in the area at the time. Innocent, Your Honour.
Get your alibi, yeah. But like, I think there's like a strand, and this isn't even really a comment about Oasis specifically, because what I'm about to describe would be there if they hadn't come along. But there's like a certain section of the public who just want a certain type of meat and potatoes rock with a bit of swagger about them, and don't really care how it's provided. So you've got the worship of the mods, you've got obviously the Stone Roses, and then Oasis, later the Verve, fucking Kasabian, people like that. The same people you'll see at all these gigs, people that are younger and get into one of them will like go back and get into those other bands and stuff. And the specific fan that likes these bands and few others, they're like the most intolerant. Every big band will have people who are like, fuck off to every support band that play there, but like this strand of people, like Super Furry Animals, are just far too radical for them. I don't understand what they're doing. Like they're actually like just a really catchy kind of pop rock band. They've got some bleeping noises on their songs. Like, I'm not having it. Like, this is why, like,
Noel should have shown a little bit of responsibility for once in his life, and he should have told the crowd, "You fucking sit down and listen," because Paul McCartney chewed celery on these guys' album. So, fucking have some respect.
It's like sort of lad rock or Noel rock or whatever you want to call it as like a commodity. There's this guy, it's the Glasgow thing, we're to blame for him really, but there's this guy called Jerry Cinnamon, complete chancer, he's absolute crap. He's like, if you can think of the most half-arsed, failed Oasis bad B-sides or album tracks, or just bands trying to sound like Oasis and being crap, he's like that, basically, that's him. And basically, because he just played gigs constantly in Glasgow, he got quite popular in Glasgow with that sort of band. And then it's ballooned, like, certainly Scotland-wide, and I think to a much more limited extent around the UK. So he's halfway up the bill on the main stage on every medium-sized festival in Britain now.
Didn't he play stadiums in Scotland?
He's
Am I thinking of
played
someone else?
some very big gigs in Scotland. I don't know if it's
Jerry Stadium, they call
I
him.
don't necessarily think stadium. But I think he's played. He's played the big venues, the big regular venues. I think he's probably been second on the bill at Tea in the Park or something in that festival's dying years. It's really weird how massive he got. But like Oasis will obviously have those sort of fans, but they'll also have fans who like all sorts of music and just happen to think Oasis are a really good example of that sort of straight ahead rock. Jerry Cinnamon doesn't seem to have any of those. None of the people who like him can have a conversation with anyone about music beyond just like, yeah, the 3 bands I like, mega. It's incredible.
Fucking mega, mad for it. But in a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Mad for it.
It's like they have the same reaction to like a basic conversation about music, about any band from outside this narrative as they would if you like put them in an astrophysics lecture or something. Like it's just completely.
Well, Horst, did you post on the Oasis forums back in the day? Because I wanted to ask, were your experiences of those forums, just assuming the answer is yes, that they were like fairly left wing, but maybe also kind of casually racist? Because what I remember was on one I posted on, eventually the people rose up against the casual racism and said enough's enough, and then it stopped. Because it was mostly, there was like one Tory guy and he got bullied all the time. That's my recollection of the good old days of the boards.
So I haven't for like a number of years, but I've occasionally looked, and I think it's got worse rather than better. But it's but it's a weird thing, right? Because I think at the time I have no recollection of any kind of politics really at all. But also you wouldn't be racist on them, I think, because they were quite international. So I don't think you could really be racist on forums like that, because Oasis were a very, very international band. I suppose South America, Italy, I guess Japan and parts of Asia were on there all the time.
Yeah.
So you probably couldn't. Whereas now, I think they have. I've seen like certain, particularly some opinions emerging from Eastern Europe.
Brave freedom fighters, all of them.
Yeah, they're just like the same stuff that you used to see anywhere. Well, more like Andrew Tate type thing, I think, more than anything else. I've seen, but like I said, I haven't been on it for a number of years. But I've got no real memory of there being lots of like politics and stuff on them. I think people mostly just talked about Oasis completely incessantly.
You look at like Oasis Twitter, and there is more of a left wing of Oasis Twitter. Or they've got their Zoomer fans who like have the same kind of values as like most other sort of Zoomer fan bases, very progressive. And then there's also, I'm sure there are people who will reply to you calling you the N-word if you criticize Oasis, even if you're white. Like, I don't know. I don't get these people in my mentions because I never criticize Oasis.
My theory of Oasis fandom, I suppose, is that there is a hardcore and there is then the bit that gets in once it goes into the big arenas and stuff and the big stadiums. Because I remember when I was 16, first time I went to see Oasis, I was camped outside Shepherd's Bush Empire for 24 hours to get tickets for it. And I was kind of afraid, because I didn't grow up somewhere where you wouldn't be afraid of camping out on the streets of London for a night. But that's what me and my mate went and did. And I think I was expecting something kind of suspicious and jealous and maybe even sort of threatening in terms of getting these tickets, because there's 1,500 of them, and the last place they played in the UK was Wembley Stadium. But it just wasn't that at all. The people that were seriously like in the hardcore of it were just the nicest people. And at that point, well, after I then went to the gig a couple of months later, which happened to be the night that the UK started bombing Afghanistan.
Coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Britpop is a psyop to distract us from the real shit going on.
Yeah.
Many people.
That's what I've been saying all this time.
I don't know.
Tony Blair, they normally
Probably Tony Blair.
They normally won't pay more. You have him for five more years? Or?
Yeah, I don't mind. See, me personally, I don't mind. Without the war, he's actually all right. The war's a load of shit, but he was all right.
Yeah, I'll try. Maybe not him though. Maybe his mate.
That's my theory on the matter.
He's promised he's going to step down.
Oh, you mean you're okay with his position in Iraq?
No, I'm not okay with it. No. But if you take the war out of it, he's okay person.
All the rest.
He's all right. There's worse out there.
At that time, when I went to that gig, it was, at that point, I'd just turned 17, and aging myself, but I'd just turned 17, and that was the best night of my life. And the night that I spent camping outside Shepherd's Bush Empire with my mate was probably up there towards the second. It was that much fun, and it wasn't the way that it gets when you end up in a big stadium and there's just piss flying everywhere. And like I say, tipping over ambulances. I have a memory that I really wish I didn't still have of in Finsbury Park in the middle of the afternoon, walking off towards the toilets, and some guy's coming walking past the other way with his trousers down, yelling, "Who's going to suck me off?" And,
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Guilty. I admit to that one, not the anti-Welsh thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you would have been a bit young for that then, Jack.
No. I had it would have been even more inappropriate. Yeah. But like my one Oasis seeing experience was totally mundane, like any other stadium rock gig. I was right at the back in the fucking bleeders with my dad and my friend. Like, I should have like pissed on my dad or something just to get into the spirit. There were no projectiles full of piss coming my way or indeed going from my direction in others.
The reason that I brought up the Afghanistan bit was because what I also remember was, because obviously we were still very young, being stood in the queue. This probably came around a few years later as well, to be fair. But the story that used to go round of an Asian woman dropped her purse in, that night it was Harrods, the version we were told, and a guy gave her it back, and she said, "Oh, thank you very much. Don't be in London on the 7th of October." Yeah, and that went round by like word of mouth. So we were stood in that queue, and like stupid and young then, right? I genuinely thought there might be a genuine like terrorist threat then. I mean, but that's, the world had changed, I suppose, on September 11th. I think,
How can we strike at the heart of the Western world?
Oasis,
Somebody warned Yair about that one, and he managed to pass that info on to me just in time.
Yeah, but I think that went round that's probably been round many years in many different forms, that thing.
I mean, it was a bit of a chestnut when they did one of the first episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm about it.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
That would have been 2001-ish. Yeah, and it was already like, oh yeah, they're riffing on that.
And I also remember being in that queue that night, like, because obviously me and my mate, because we'd got the tickets from the box office, you know, we knew that ours were legit, but we were in the queue and like there were so many people around who had bought tickets off touts outside, and the people that were next to us had bought tickets for I think like 150 quid, and they did not look like our tickets, and we were just there thinking, oh. But they did, the people behind us did get in, and I think that night it was that hot and sweaty and packed that I suspect a lot of people probably got in with not genuine tickets.
Probably that hot and sweaty and packed that people were drinking the piss to stay hydrated.
It's possible. I don't think, like I said, I remember that night. Again, that was a small one, right? So that was like 1,500 people. I remember absolutely no bad vibes from that night at all, apart from like the terror threat going on. But
yeah, well, it depends. That's a bad vibe.
In fairness, entirely falsified.
We don't get into politics here. We don't take sides. Terror, war on terror. We stay neutral in the whole thing.
No, but there was none of that like horrible stuff, and it was only when they go to big ones that, you know, I remember my mate just taking a pint of piss to the head, and all of us sort of like basically getting our bottles of water that we'd paid about £2 for at the time, that would probably be a £5 now, and just hosing him down as best we could, because he got one full on in the head and just tipped all over him. Oh, gross.
We've seen the nauseating spectacle of Keir Starmer's government trying to capitalise on this. We're hearing from a lot of representatives of the government that Oasis only play shows under a Labour government. And I have to admire this rather unorthodox take on the career of Oasis. It's iconoclastic.
It's so bizarre in that the two albums people actually like, widely the consensus are good, were both under the major government. Like, that's just
the John Ashworth line on Oasis is that they really got into the swing of things with Be Here Now, and before that it just wasn't true Oasis.
First time I've ever agreed with John Ashworth, I think.
1997, May, when Labour got in. Obviously, Oasis were in the process of losing the ability to produce a record, basically. But all the other big Britpop bands had serious drug issues and were just having like long absences or like commercially unsuccessful or unwise comeback albums. So Labour got in probably about 3 months before Britpop just turned into like the bad Noel Gallagher impression bands, your Cast, your Ocean Colour Scene,
Shed 7.
Kula Shaker's second album, one of the nadirs of all popular culture history. Like, that was what Britpop was under Tony Blair. No, the first one was terrible, and it had secret racist symbols on the cover. But like,
it's just Indian imagery. It's okay, guys. India, they use it as a symbol of peace. Don't worry.
if they'd like never done any interviews, whatever, and you didn't know they were like super posh, like reactionary arseholes, nepo baby tossers, you'd just be like, oh, they were a throwaway second division Britpop band. I vaguely.
His name's Crispin, isn't it? Is his name Crispin?
Crispian.
Mills.
Oh, Crispian.
He was Hayley Mills, the actress's kid.
He's a director now.
A couple of the songs, they weren't good, but a couple of them were vaguely catchy. And then the second album
and Kula
came
Shaker
back.
are back together.
Yeah, they've done like 6 albums, but like only the hardcore fan base like have any clue what they sound like. So God knows. The second album, that comeback single was, or might have been the second single, I don't know, but it was like career ending. It just the chorus was like "Wizard in a blizzard, a mystical machine gun." Literally, "Wizard in a blizzard." Like Liam Gallagher would be like, "Nah, man," to that lyric. Like he'd think of that, he'd think of that and like, right, I'm not writing any more lyrics for a week because that's terrible. I'm gonna have a think about what I've done.
Well, there's an Oasis Kula Shaker connection, which is that after they split up, their keyboardist Jay Darlington, aka Jesus, aka the Shroud, played keyboards for Oasis on 2 world tours. Was it 2 or 3? 3, I think.
It was definitely Dig Out Your Soul. Yeah, and it was Don't Believe the Truth. So I'm not sure.
Not Even Chemistry.
I'm not sure if it was or not.
That was when they really hit their stride. Fuck Be Here Now. Even Chemistry is when the band got going.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a worse take than John Ashworth.
He was the last ingredient that they needed to become a truly great band. Him out of Kula Shaker.
To my knowledge, the keyboardist wasn't one of the racist ones. Obviously, Crispian had his controversy where he was like, yeah, we're reclaiming the swastika. But like there was other stuff as well. I think it was the drummer had like some very dodgy connections. One of the other members of the band really did. Anyway, they played it was like a semi-disguised White Pride event, like in the way that in the way that like Spiked are a semi-disguised conservative outlet.
This is while Oasis were playing the Liverpool Docker benefits. I mean, a true working class blue collar band, unlike these posh twats Kula Shaker, who, by the way, I believe Jesus has now rejoined.
I mean, they might have had an epiphany. They might be a left-wing band now, but like, who's going to listen to the Kula Shaker comeback albums or like anything to do with it? They might be the best band in the world now. I'll never know.
But things are not looking great on the ticket price front, are they? Like, I saw they're cheaper for the Welsh shows. It's just another example of how the English are discriminated against in this country.
Well, that's just another victory for the working man, courtesy of Welsh Labour.
They're starting the tour in Cardiff as well, and still the Welsh have not released a single hostage.
They're gonna. I hear disturbing rumours that they're luring the Oasis fans in with dirt cheap tickets, like £151 instead of £153, and then they're gonna lock them all up. They're gonna take them as hostages.
It's the greatest swindle ever seen. The great rock and roll swindle, you could say. Sudden Shia.
Blairite Vaughan Gething was the last bastion of defence against Hamas.
But no, there's like a whole world of amazing Oasis content online. I saw an Oasis Twitter account in China. I didn't even know they allowed Twitter in China, but apparently if you're praising Oasis, even though Noel Gallagher is officially listed as an enemy of the Chinese state for playing the Free Tibet rally in 19... Because he's so principled.
I can't remember if they had to cancel a show or if they were allowed to do it or not, but there was a show that was under question, because of that. Like, I think it was in 1997 or something. He did a Tibetan Freedom concert.
He did with Radiohead and lots of other people who were against oppression.
There was some really big
Tibetan
Freedom gigs around then. I think... Was it not the Beastie Boys just bullying everyone in their contacts book into doing it?
No, I think Noel is a
I think they were friends.
Boy for criticising the Chinese government.
Have you ever heard that, the Tibetan Freedom one?
I've heard the Noel set where he's just playing electric guitar solo.
Yeah. Pretty.
Why did you do
that?
So
he's playing like Cast My Shadow and stuff. On Les Paul with everything turned right up. It sounds truly ridiculous.
Why did you do that? It's just like, oh, I'd look gay if I played an acoustic.
Is that what you're saying? I mean,
no, probably not, but it's like, I've heard him say stuff like, you can't stand up and play acoustic guitar. It looks stupid. So I think that's why Oasis sat down when they played acoustic bits in the 96 gigs. So maybe he was like, well, I want to stand up, but I can't play acoustic guitar if I stand up. So I have to play electric guitar. Maybe that was the thought process.
It's fucking awful.
Just a little funny news story. The Scottish Health Secretary Neil Gray attempted to buy Oasis tickets whilst participating in a panel on Alzheimer's disease.
Much more of a man of the people than anyone in Scottish Labour. Not in a good way, but like definitely true.
It reminds me of that APPG where Mike Gapes was playing Tiddlywinks on his phone. Wasn't it like Friends of Kashmir or something? He was deep in the Tiddlywinks.
That was the only Guido Fawkes scoop I will ever endorse, is them getting
I endorse the ones about
Mike Gapes playing Tiddlywinks.
I also
we know the ones that you endorse,
Guido Fawkes scoops about infidelity. Final thoughts: Oasis reunion predictions. What do you think? This is probably one more for Horse again than for Geraint, but who do you think is going to be in Oasis?
I've got a prediction.
Oh, go on.
I think they'll split up before the end of the tour. They'll get
before the end of the tour.
Yeah.
Okay, because you understand
before the start of the tour is a possibility.
They will be bankrupted
and stuff, but
they have booked so many stadiums. Michael Jackson got out of his 50 dates at the O2 Arena because he fucking died. Oasis cannot cancel a tour that this much has been invested in.
They're making mega money off it, so they could cancel with a couple of dates left. They could fuck it off if they do.
With a couple of dates.
Yeah.
Well, they had like one date left when Noel left the fucking band on that tour. But what do you think, Horse? Do you have any predictions on that front or lineup-wise? Who do you think is going to be in Oasis? Because they've dropped the pretense that this is an actual band that's not about the singer and the guitarist at this point.
So I think Gem's a given, surely. I'm not sure why Andy Bell would do it at this point. I'm presuming that, like...
Money?
Yeah, but how much are they going to get?
That's true.
Like, they're not going to cut him in 20%, are they?
Well, would he get more money as like a principal participant of a ride tour or as a jobbing musician on an Oasis tour?
Probably the jobbing musician on the Oasis tour, let's face it.
Yeah, I was going to say. And also, like, Ride just released an album this year. They're probably due some time off anyway. And they supported Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds recently. And apparently Noel is friendly with Andy again these days.
I don't think they
I'm holding out,
to be fair.
Well, there you go. But they've reconnected at gigs and stuff anyway. They've been known to be friendly. I quote Noel on the Matt Morgan podcast. I won't quote a lot of the things that Noel says on the Matt Morgan podcast. Mostly about fingering dogs, actually. Not all of it's ripping on disabled people or whatever. But he said on the Matt Morgan podcast, I quote, "I like Andy Bell." There you go. So I'm going to say justice for Gem and Andy. I want both my beautiful boys back in the band. They served with distinction and honour for many years.
So I have a theory. It's not a prediction. I think there's a non-zero possibility of it. Do you think Noel's going to be happy with Liam singing 20 songs and he sings 3?
No.
Or do you think that it's possible that Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds might support Oasis?
Oh, interesting. No, I don't think they'll do that. I think Noel would feel uncomfortable with that.
It would be difficult for his ego, because there'd be a comparatively hugely muted reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
Oasis fans
where's our kids?
Who'd in isolation be quite enthusiastic about a Noel Gallagher solo project, but waiting for Oasis to come on, they're going to be polite clapping through those songs and then going wild for like the most obscure Oasis B-side they put in the set.
Right. I've got an example of this. I did see one years ago. I saw Richard Ashcroft at the Albert Hall. It was one of the Teenage Cancer Trust ones, right? And the support band was Noel and Kelly Jones and Paul Weller. And Roger Daltrey was on. Yeah, a bit Welsh. And Roger Daltrey was on the stage at one point as well. And they sort of played some songs.
Like it.
Yeah, it was good. They played like Magic Bus with Roger Daltrey. I think they did like Talk Tonight. And what's the big stereophonic song I'm thinking of?
Right.
A good one off the first album.
Local Boy in the Photograph?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was that, essentially.
That's the only one that everyone agrees is good.
Yeah. And Liam came on for all of 90 seconds to sing Songbird. And yeah, it was by far the loudest the entire night got.
he's got it, man.
He literally
He's
just
got it.
walked on stage, drunk, sang Songbird with his people, walked off again. And
The
that's
song
it,
with,
like,
like,
it was the
two
loudest by a million. Yeah, by like a million miles. It's the
Barely any
loudest.
word. Yeah. So Noel wouldn't want to be like basically supporting Liam. That
I
would
think
be
you've
the
got a
ultimate
point there.
indignity. But I think he will sing like at least 6, I'm gonna say, songs in the course of the set list. Gonna demand
Do you
it.
know what?
I think there's
I know
gonna
we're wrapping up. While we're on this, can I just point out that 2 things that pissed me off about Noel and his solo career? Do you remember when he used to play Supersonic, like on the acoustic guitar?
Oh yeah.
Like, what's that? That's
Well,
not what that's you don't understand your song.
Which
And you keep adding
it's meant
stuff to
be.
Half the World Away as well.
Meant
Those
to
2
be
things
fucking
really
having it.
wind me up.
Oh, I'm glad Liam's reclaimed Half the World Away
Yeah,
now. It's
agree.
his song now. But no, man, I'm excited. I think it's going to be probably a less interesting set for the hardcore fans than the last leg of the Dig Out Your Soul tour.
Yeah.
But because it's been 15 years, like, who fucking cares? Like, every song in the set is a rarity as played by Oasis. You know what I mean? So bring it on, even though I'm not going as yet, but we'll see what happens there.
Any wealthy listeners who can sort Jack out with a ticket or a line on a ticket.
Or a line, just so I can listen to Definitely Maybe on myself, do coke, and imagine I'm there. throw a glass of piss over myself.
Get the Gallagher experience at home. Yeah, just
fucking
get coked up and
biblical.
talk complete bollocks.
Mad for it. Yeah. So fucking good. At the end of the day, that is it.
Look, 70% of what people are listening for is the wrestling. I'll take the 70%. The 30% you can go and fucking blow it, Jack.
Well, you know,
Do I get
am
anything for this, or do I just have to keep paying for Patreon?
Yeah, we don't really. We're not the kind of show that pays guests.
Yeah, it's like a paid
successful
relationship,
one.
There's a vanishingly
like
small amount of money between the 3 of us, as is.
Yeah, they should pay. No, my Heathen Chemistry reconstruction, by the way, it's got Shouted Out Loud on it.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know why it's so
But that's ripped off a Neil Young song, though, isn't it?
It's not ripped off
Neil
a
Young
specific Neil Young song. It just sounds a bit like Neil Young, which is, you know, fine. That's legit. That's the same for every song I've ever written. It's although some of mine actually are ripped off specific Neil Young songs. But yeah, that's a good one. And I put Idler's Dream on there, which I like. Better than She Is Love. Come on.
That's terrible. It really is.
And
he said something at the time. He said something like he thought that should be a #1 single.
What, She Is Love?
Like, yeah. Like Noel really rated that song. Hence it was a double A side with Little by Little.
It's dog shit.
And
I don't like Little by
absolute
Little
trash.
either, to be honest. But She Is Love is terrible. It sounds like late 70s James Taylor, which is like the smarmiest music ever recorded. Yeah. Unbearable. Oh yeah, and I put Thank You for the Good Times on there, which is by Andy Bell, but sounds like a Noel tune.
That's alright, but Liam's vocal on it isn't good.
Alright! Yeah. You know, I'm just in it. I don't care how Liam sounds. Like, as long as it's him at this point, I'm just like, yeah. You know, I've listened to many eras of Bob Dylan. I don't need my vocals crystal clear and pretty, as long as the feeling's there, man. And at the end of the day, that is it.
No, I do agree. Like, on that thing that if the feeling's there, then that's it. I totally agree. I have no explanation for why it's captivating to watch a now 50-something-year-old man stand completely still, and why it always has been. I have no explanation for it. It either triggers something in you or it doesn't. And if it did.
I think that's it. Well, because that Oasis fan account was like, is Liam Gallagher the greatest frontman of all time? And a lot of the responses completely misunderstand what a frontman is. They're listing solo artists for a start, who it's like, you know, it's like, oh, the best frontman of all time is Celine Dion or something. It's like, no, she's a very good singer, but the front woman of the band Celine Dion. All the other thing is just people mentioning people who are really good singers, but it's like, but could they do what Liam does, just standing there and doing fuck all before even singing a word?
No, but I also can't explain why it's good, why it's entertaining, why Liam can stand on the stage completely still, and I feel compelled to go, Liam. Like, you know, why? I have no idea. It's just something that happens and is there, and that's why you probably shouldn't write fucking Guardian articles about it.
That's why they call it mad for it. It's literally a mental illness that we've both been struggling with all these many years.
Hey, I didn't struggle with it.
No. Sorry, it's the good kind of mental illness, like all the types that I've got. So yeah. Anyway, I've literally used all my notes now.
Very Oasis appropriate to have the whole episode be overly long and in drastic need of an edit that's never coming.
Fucking mad for it.
I mean, you're going to have to cut out like half of what I've said because it's completely uninteresting. It's just mild, slightly correcting.
You've listened to our podcast. When has that ever been an obstacle to us leaving something in the edit?
That's a fair point.
If there's no nerdy Oasis stuff and it's just banter, then I'd be like, while editing, I'd be like, where's the nerdy Oasis stuff? I want to hear facts about Oasis.
I'm saying concrete facts.
Can you crop the nerdy Oasis stuff for a Patreon episode, but put dynamic pricing on Patreon? So if anyone clicks to that episode, we charge them like 40 quid a month. It's fine because it's morally fine because it's a satire on Oasis and it's just a little passive benefit of our clever joke that we make more money off it.
I think you should donate all proceeds from this episode to the real people for the writing and maybe the amorphous androgynous as well.
They'll probably actually make them less rich somehow.
We'll donate it to the podcasts we steal all our ideas from.
You just offload our debt onto them or something.
Yeah. What's the MI5 podcast called again?
One decision. We need to mention one decision on every episode.
We can't not give we can't not give MI5 a shout out on the Britpop episode. Come on.
I think there's a National
We're paying
Crime
tribute
Agency
to one of
one
their
as
greatest
well,
triumphs.
Oh yeah, you know how I've been saying at the end of the day, that is it. Like a million times. That's like a reference to some obscure sketch about Oasis from like before they split up.
End of the day, right? Like people are going to say that we've tried to be like more experimental, like on this new record, right? But like we're just fucking having it, like we always do. You know what I mean? And that is it.
Like no one will get it at all, and I just like saying it. Like at the end of the day, that is it.
I thought you were trying to cut me off, and I've completely ignored it. Because I've not spent an evening talking about Oasis in about 15 years.
And at the end of the day,
I can go into next week if you want.
That is it. Well, I think we should actually leave it there then. That seems like that actually is it. Nobody said anything. No one came in with anything this time. So, that is it. At the end of the day.
Right. Unless you are absolutely desperate to like go to sleep immediately.
And at the end of the day, that is it.
If you have any laughter in at this point, it's a lie.
Maybe I will fuck off. Maybe I will see how you like that.
Okay, night.
Yeah, alright, night. I'm actually gonna go.
Well. Good luck editing that.
We've had to edit much messier stuff. Like it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You'll just pick what segments are going to be the Patreon stuff and clip them. Jack does all the work anyway, all the time. So I'm fine, even if it was messier than that. But thanks for coming on anyway. It was a good laugh.
Yeah, you are very welcome. So don't require payment. Nothing like that. It's all fine.
That's very fortunate. Because we're skin.
Good night, everyone. Whatever it is that Jack kept saying, the end is this, or whatever he kept saying.
Yeah, I can't. You said it like 100 times, and it's the second he disconnected from the call, it's like, what was he saying again?
Was he actually disconnected from the call? I didn't realise it's actually
Yeah, he's gone. He was fucking...
In that case, fuck Jack Train Reed, he is half the mad for it I am.
Yeah, a disgraceful anti-Welsh pervert. Fuck him.
Absolutely. Anyway, I say, my pleasure.
Yeah.
I'll speak to you another time.
Alright, yeah. No, I enjoyed that anyway. Night.
See you later.
At the end of the day, right, that is it.
What is it?
Well, at the end of the day, right, that is it.
Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time. Jack does all the work anyway all the time.